So in this optional segment, we're going to go over Spark routes in a little more detail. Now, for the blog project, we're going to actually give you most of the Spark code, but just so you understand what's happening, we wanted to give you this introduction to how routes work in Spark so that when you look at the code, you understand what's happening. So the anatomy of a Spark application. On the outside, you have your web server, which is Jetty. So Spark has a embedded Jetty server, so when you create a route, Jetty is automatically started for you in a background thread. And inside, you have a Spark handler, such that when a request comes into Jetty, Jetty forwards it to the Spark handler. And then within the Spark handler, you have one or more routes. For example, get slash or get slash test, and so on. And when you come to this web server from a browser, you make a request, say, to localhost. That turns into a get of slash to localhost, port 80 by default, but you can change that. And that request goes to Jetty, which in turn gets passed to the Spark route handler, which in turn finds the correct route, which in this case is the slash route. The handler for that route is executed and a response returned. So let's look at the code. So here's an application I wrote a little while ago, similar to what we had in our Spark Hello World, but with a few more routes. So we have our main method, and we have 3 routes defined, each with the method spark.get. So we have get here, get, and get. And we define our routes. Our 3 routes are slash and slash test, and then a funny looking one here, slash echo slash colon thing. We'll get to that in a minute. But for a request to slash, it'll go to this handler. For slash test, it'll go to this handler. And let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to start this program up. So Spark is listening on 4567 by default. So I'm going to go to this web page here, and slash goes to hello world. Slash test goes to this is a test page, and that's the first 2. Now let's look at the 3rd route, which is a little bit more interesting. So the 3rd route is defined as slash echo slash colon thing. Now colon thing is a wildcard in this case, and this route will match any path that starts with slash echo slash and then has any segment after that. So when a request comes in, Spark will match this route for slash echo slash cat or slash dog, and you can get the value of this thing variable or wildcard by calling request.params and then colon thing in this case to match the colon thing here. So let's look at that in a web browser. So I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to say slash echo slash cat, and it echoes cat. And that happens because what we return here is request.params colon thing. If I change that to dog, it will return dog. So this is just an introduction to route handling in Spark, showing how you can define routes for multiple paths in your application and how you can use wildcarding to give a little more dynamic behavior to the routes that you've defined. And in the next section, we'll look at form handling using routes mapped to post requests instead of get.